Hi everyone, my name is Monique, and today I'm going to be showing you how to play a game called Cosmoctopus, designed by Henry Audubon and published by Lucky Duck Games for helping sponsor this video. In this game, 1 to 4 players compete to prove their devotion to Cosmoctopus, aka the Great Inky One, this guy, right here. And they'll be doing this by collecting different types of resources in order to harness the power of various objects and summon Cosmoctopus from the Inky realm. And so the game also comes with rules for solo play as well as a fully cooperative mode, but today I'm going to be showing you how to play the base game. For more information regarding the game, as well as where to find it, we've included a link to the publisher's website down below. Lastly, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and you'd like to see more, please consider subscribing. Otherwise, we are ready to begin. So if you please direct your attention to the center of the table, we're all set up here for a 2-player game of Cosmoctopus. Welcome to the Inky realm. I know there's a lot of stuff going on here, so just to kind of give you the lay of the land, in the middle of the table here, we have the Inky realm, which houses the Cosmoctopus, or at least their head. The realm consists of 9 tiles set up in a 3x3 grid. Now this is just the suggested layout for a first game, but for future games, you can actually experiment with different types of layouts. In addition, we have the 4 different types of resources that we're going to be accumulating in order to put these devotee cards into play. And lastly, each player starts the game with 2 of each type of resource, 5 devotee cards in their hand, as well as a summoning tile, which is going to be used to hold the tentacles that belong to Cosmoctopus. Because in this game, the object is to be the first player to collect all 8 of Cosmoctopus's tentacles. As soon as a player has collected their 8th tentacle, the game ends immediately, and that player has successfully proven themselves to be the #1 devotee of the Great Inky One. And so a player's turn is divided into 3 steps. Starting with the first player, the first thing that happens on your turn is you must always move Cosmoctopus to an adjacent tile. So say for example, I were to move Cosmoctopus over to this tile. After moving, you would then gain the bonus that's listed on the tile. And so these bonuses are going to be stuff like gaining 3 stars, or gaining 3 whispers. And so as you can see, there is 1 tile for each type of resource. Other tiles, such as the tile that Cosmoctopus is currently on, will gain you a resource as well as a card from the card row. In addition, the game comes with 4 special tiles, and so each game you're only going to be playing with 1 of them. For this specific setup, our special tile says you gain 2 resources of the same type. Now, I just want to note that you can actually move Cosmoctopus further than 1 space if you really want to get to a specific bonus tile, but in order to do this, you have to pay tribute by spending 1 resource for each additional space Cosmoctopus moves to, and you can only take the bonus of the last tile that Cosmoctopus lands on. In addition, you can never move them diagonally, so if you want to go there, you'd have to go around, and you can also never move them back to the space that they started on. So in my example, I could not move Cosmoctopus back to the +3 star space because that's where they started. So since I moved them here, I would gain a star as well as a card. So I will just take this one and automatically refill it from the devotee deck. Now, after gaining the bonus, you can then optionally play 1 card from your hand by spending the required resources. In the devotee deck, there are 4 different types of cards, and they each do different things. They also represent different types of objects that you are trying to harness the power of, such as scriptures, relics, we have constellations, and hallucinations. Now, each card follows the same type of card anatomy. At the top left-hand corner of the card, it shows the combination of resources that you have to spend in order to put the card into play. So for example, for my supernova numerology scripture over here, I have to pay 2 ink as well as any combination of 2 other resources. Now, if I don't have enough of those resources to spend, I can also discard cards from my hand to discount that cost. And the color of the card corresponds to the type of resource you're discounting. So in the example of my supernova, if I did not have 2 ink, I could spend a black card from my hand to discount that by 1. Or if I don't have enough resources to pay the generic cost, I could spend any combination of cards to make up those types of resources. And that is essentially how all of the cards work. Now, like I was mentioning, playing a card on your turn is optional, but if you choose to do so, you can play at most 1 card unless a specific card effect allows you to play additional cards. Now let's just take a look at the different card types, starting with the scriptures. Scriptures always give you a certain type of resource discount that is active for the rest of the game. So in this example, if I were to put this card into play, I would now have a 2-star discount for the rest of the game. These discounts are primarily used when putting cards into play, but I can also stack them with other discounts and use them towards the Forbidden Knowledge tile, which we'll talk about later. And just as a note, discounts such as this one that show a specific resource type cannot go towards generic resource costs. They must be applied to that specific resource type. In addition, some scripture cards show this icon below their cost, and when putting these cards into play, you can immediately resolve its effect, which is called Submerge. This effect allows you to discard any black or yellow cards from the card row, and for each card you discard, you get to move Cosmoctopus and take the bonus of the tile it lands on. Next, we have the yellow relic cards, such as this Dreadfog Chronometer. And these cards always provide some sort of ongoing effect. In this example, if I were to put this card into play by paying 3 coins as well as any 2 resources, for the rest of the game, each time I gain a star resource, I actually gain 2 additional, which means I would gain 3 stars. And similar to the scriptures, these effects also stack. Now, some relics also show a special icon below their cost, like this one. And when putting this card into play, this effect allows you to draw the top card from the devotee deck, which, by the way, is a rare thing to do. Typically, when you draw cards, you're going to be drawing them from the card row, but that specific card effect allows you to take the top card from the devotee deck. Next, we have red cards, which are called hallucinations. Unlike these scriptures and relics, these cards provide a one-time effect that you take immediately when putting it into play, and then you discard the card. So for example, if I were to put the Shadows on the Sun card into play, I would gain 5 coins from the supply and then take all of the cards from the card row. And then this card would get discarded. So even though these cards are a one-time effect, the effect is typically pretty powerful. Some hallucinations, such as this one, show a lightning bolt below its cost, and when putting these into play, you can immediately play an additional card from your hand. You still have to be able to pay for the card, but this is a good way for you to be able to play more than one card on your turn. And the last type of card that you'll see are these green Constellation cards. Now, constellations are the guaranteed way for you to earn tentacles, which again are the point of the game. You want to earn 8 tentacles before anybody else. After paying its cost, constellations are actually put into play in front of a player. But in order to gain all of the bonuses listed at the bottom, you have to first complete the constellation by collecting resources and placing them on the card. And you always have to start with a resource at the top left-hand corner of the card. So as an example, my Swim Sunken Fangtooth over here shows 2 ink symbols as well as 2 coins. After putting this card into play, anytime I trigger an effect that would allow me to collect ink, I can choose to put one of those ink tokens that I earned on top of this card. As soon as I do, then it unlocks the resource following the arrow. So in this example, I would be able to now put a coin here, but I can only place resources on the card when I'm earning them. So even though I have coins in my supply, I could not choose to place them on the card. And as soon as I've completed my constellation by filling the card with the required resources, then I gain the bonus that's at the bottom, which in this case would be 1 tentacle, 5 ink, and 5 coins. And then this card would get discarded. And those are all of the different types of cards that you're going to be seeing throughout the game. Now, each time you earn a tentacle, you're going to take the tentacle from the supply and place it on your summoning tile. So this is going to act as your scoreboard of sorts. In addition, the first time a player earns their very first tentacle, they get to take one of the 4 available first contact cards. As you can see, there are 1 of each type of card, and when taking one, they actually go straight into your hand because you have to put them into play first. Fortunately, these cards don't cost anything, but you must still take a turn to put them into play. Now, there are 4 of these total, which means each player can take one. As soon as the next player earns their first tentacle, then they get to choose from whatever's left, and so on and so forth. Now, over the course of the game, in addition to putting constellation cards into play, you'll find other cards in the devotee deck that will also earn you tentacles. But another way to earn them is by earning a forbidden knowledge tile. There is 1 tile for each different type of resource, and in order to claim one of these, you have to spend 13 of that type of resource. Doing so, though, will gain you 2 tentacles, and only 1 player can earn each type of forbidden knowledge tile. Now, it seems really difficult to earn these, but any discounts from your scripture cards can be applied to the forbidden knowledge tile. In addition, you can also discard cards from your hand to discount that further, similar to the way that you would discount the card costs when putting them into play. So if I really wanted the ink forbidden knowledge tile, I could discard the black scripture cards from my hand as well as the ink tokens from my supply, in addition to any other discounts I might have. And that's essentially it. As soon as a player has moved Cosmoctopus, taken the bonus on the tile, and optionally played a card, then they end their turn by discarding down to 8 cards in hand, as well as 8 of each type of resource in their supply. And then you end your turn by rotating Cosmoctopus so that they are staring at the next player. As soon as the player gains their 8th tentacle, the game ends immediately and they get to collect Cosmoctopus's head, placing it on top of their summoning tile, completing their portal to the Inky Realm, winning them the game. And that's essentially how you play Cosmoctopus. Now, like I was mentioning at the start of the video, the game also comes with a private investigator that you can use for solo as well as cooperative play. But for more information regarding the game, as well as where you can find it, I've included a link to the publisher's website in the description down below. Thank you all so much for watching my video today. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about anything that you saw here, please feel free to leave me a comment down below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Also, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and would like to see more, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching. Bye!